I'm Phil. I'm very Phil.
You know, they're selling y'all wolf tickets, people. You're eating them right up.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I back. Trust me, I back.
But I'm not impressed by your performance.
You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing. Shut your fucking mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing. Not one of you'll do nothing.
I'll tell you what, I'll tell you what, bro. You know, I was out there, I was fighting all the hitters, bro. You ain't fought no hitters.
Come on, guys. It's normal.
I'm not gonna fight you. I will kill you.
John, John, do you think I'm just gonna sit there and let you kill me, John? I mean, really?
No, don't be scared, homie.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the fuck he wants.
I'm gonna beat you into the living death. I mean, maybe that's your job, but where I come from, you know, people like that get slapped.
That's fucking illegal.
Next year, you just shook up the world. How's that feel?
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is a simulated death match. And you haven't simulated anybody's death yet.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
What is the game plan going in against him?
The game plan is you go in there, hit him with some good shit, don't get hit, and come home with a pocket full of cash.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up? What is up, MCR family? Another media reaction post-fight show. Oleksandr Usyk knocking the fuck out of Tony Bellew. God damn. The God is here.
I am Phil. I'm very Phil.
I am Phil, man. I am very Phil. God, I know Mr. Robbie Hearns, Mr. Robert Hearns, the great. He probably won't be able to make the show because he's on TBV duties with them doing their show. I'm hoping they can wrap up soon, just so Rob can call in and I can shit on him for doubting my man Oleksandr Usyk. And to be fair though, let's be honest, we were all doubting it in that first 3 rounds. Let's be completely 100 about it. But anyways, this is Mixed Combat Radio. I'm Matt, the Hipster Hunter. Make sure you hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, listen on podcasts, drop that review. It's always helpful to for the exposure of the show so more people can see how much you enjoy the show as well. Even if you don't like the show that much, drop a 1 star. I don't care. I don't discriminate. Anyways, obviously you're here for the show title. It's Oleksandr Usyk, Tony Bellew, a media reaction show, post-fight show. Call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. If you are international, if you are in the UK, obviously Tony Bellew fan, definitely want to get your take on it because your man's definitely, I think, showed up. Like, you should be proud of Tony Bellew if you're a Tony Bellew fan out there, to be completely honest about the matter. Obviously, we're going to delve into the particulars, but if you're a Tony Bellew fan out there and you can't call in via the number, you're international, email me, mixedcombatradio@gmail.com to get a free international permanent call-in link. All the information is below on the screen or below in the description as well. But to digress from all that, shout out to everyone in the chat. Gary from Dallas, Jay, Pride Jay, Unemployed Mario Yamasaki, which, by the way, great name. And he has, I don't F with the box anymore. No, that's not true. I nothing but respect for them. I mean, they just created differences, that's all. Johnny, Plastic God, The Prospect, Louie, shout out to Louie, Main Event Mark. Everyone that's listening, past, present, or future, make sure you hit that like button, like I said. Jay, I think, putting in greatly, saying nothing but respect for Bellew. Yeah, I mean, obviously, just to sort of delve into the fight right away, because that's what the show is. The first, I would say, 3 rounds were clear Tony Bellew rounds. Like, I really don't think there's an argument you can make that Oleksandr Usyk missing all those range-finding jabs / feints, whichever one you want to, whichever sort of adjective you want to ascribe to those punches that just weren't landing, and the occasional left hand. It just wasn't enough, in my opinion, to the right-hand counters from Tony Bellew that were landing at will, and obviously having Oleksandr Usyk concerned about the power. Like, that was prevalent quite early that Usyk was, respecting Bellew in a lot of ways, But also, he knew the power was legitimate. Like, it's not like Bellew was packing pillows there. Arguably, I would say, even though Usyk ended up getting the vicious knockout in the 8th round, Bellew probably pound for pound has the harder punch than Usyk. I think that's pretty obvious. You can just tell that in sort of how the matchups transpired, or how the matchup transpired. However, we saw one thing that was quite clear. The conservative approach of Usyk, the cardio first, the 12-round sort of mindset of the fight was just there. The game plan, the sticking to the game plan, the adherence to what his coaches told him. That was pretty prevalent. While Tony Bellew, in my opinion, was working a lot off of basically what he just does. Like, that was natural talent, natural skill, natural sort of counterboxing ability. And he just happened to be sort of his basement is very, very high. Because I really didn't see any sort of game plan around Bellew other than look for that counter right hand. Usyk, bobs and weaves off the center line. Look for him to sort of, snap back to the center line and catch him with that right hand on his entry or on his exits. That's what you're really looking for if you were Tony Bellew. Or the left hook as Usyk was sort of trying to peel out to the side a little bit, catch him with the left hand on the exit. Those sort of punches were sort of his bread and butter, speaking of Tony Bellew, throughout the fight. And, by round 4 or 5, probably closer to 6, it became quite clear that Tony Bellew sort of ran out options, while Usyk's overall adherence to his cardio-centric game plan was working. Bellew was slowing down. His great footwork and overall head movement, speaking of Bellew, started slowing down a bit. His explosive sort of athleticism slowed down a bit. And Usyk's just methodical nature just took over, and eventually those left hands and right hook combinations that Usyk was throwing eventually started landing much more convincingly, much more frequently. And also, something to note, definitely go back and watch this fight. I want to as well, because something I noticed maybe around 5-ish was Usyk landing a sneaky left hand to the body. I don't know how much of that he got off that we sort of just didn't focus on, the commentators didn't focus on, and how much of that had an effect on the cardio of Tony Bellew. But it's gonna be interesting sort of looking out, sort of in a macro sense, like the perception of both these guys heading forward. I think a lot of people respect Tony Bellew after this, and I still see a lot of people hating on Usyk. Just sort of interesting to look at. Prospect saying, did Usyk ever seem to tire? No. And to be honest, Usyk never went at any sort of output that he needed to tire. Like, just for very clear sort of juxtaposition, go back and watch the first 3 rounds of the Gassia fight. Just do that. And look at the output difference from Usyk compared to those first 3 rounds to this. Usyk didn't even break a sweat, honestly. If any sort of sweat was broken, it was a mental sweat, because both guys were very concerned about what the other was doing. The mental exhaustion from both guys was probably more prevalent than the actual physical exhaustion. Let's be completely honest. But yes, sort of digressing back to that sort of 5th, 6th round transition, where Bellew was tiring out. Usyk started landing more and more shots. Bellew would do, a common thing where he would sort of duck under with the roll and sort of duck his head out and try to sort of escape that way. Sort of not run away, but I'm going to use that word just because there's a lack of a better term in my head right now. Sort of run away and peel out to get out of danger. Eventually, that stopped working. Why? Because he was less quick about it. His explosion to that movement towards his footwork to get out of danger wasn't there anymore. He was now stuck on the ropes. He now no longer could sort of slip out the side door and get away from danger. He was caught. And Usyk started getting a little more comfortable exchanging, a little more comfortable throwing combinations. And the second that happened, I think we sort of saw the writing on the wall again, round 6, 7, and obviously into 8. It was heading towards a bad direction for Bellew. The fight was going towards Usyk's direction. I don't think Bellew would have won this fight, just being honest. Even without the knockout, even with the early success of Tony Bellew, there was an obvious momentum shift. And I don't think Bellew would have had a second second wind and get back into it. It just did not seem likely. And in that 8th round, to sort of set up the knockout, again, sort of what I was talking about. I mean, Bellew was trying to peel out, trying to sort of escape with that shoulder roll, but he was getting caught with the left hand at will, and eventually he really stopped even trying to do that. He was just standing straight up. Boom, got caught with that left hand, out cold. Not out cold. He woke up, after he hit the ropes, and then got back up. Amazing knockout. Definitely one to, I think, long term might sort of minimize those early round success of Tony Bellew as we sort of look back on it in retrospect. That might be a factor to pay attention to. But looking forward, just sort of materially, what's going to happen to both guys, Usyk, Tony Bellew. Obviously, Tony Bellew is retiring. This is it for him. Really awesome career. Not a Hall of Fame one. Nothing that's, quote unquote great, but made a lot of money doing it. Was a perennial guy forever. Former champion. He has a lot of accolades to sort of fall back on. And plus, if he ever wants to stay in boxing, I think he 100% has a job as a commentator or analyst. He absolutely does. I know he doesn't want to do that, but I think he has a great mind for the sport, and he's very articulate. So I'm always in favor of that. Now, for Usyk, there's nothing left at cruiserweight. Like, this was Tony Bellew coming back down to cruiserweight, where he's a emeritus champion for the WBC. But now with that, Bellew scalp on his belt, there's nothing left for him. Oleksandr Usyk has completely obliterated and destroyed an entire division in 16 fights. Like, I really want to put this into context here. When we start talking about, like, real young prodigies, they've done a lot of good. Anyway, Japanese monster prodigy. For all the credit we have given him, he has never really cleaned out a division, destroyed a division, arguably even close. The bantamweight tournament is probably going to be his closest attempt to do that, let's be honest. Also a way in a vehicle of how Usyk did it, just sort of a parallel there. But, anyway, 3-division champion. How many of those divisions has he destroyed? Again, I mean, anyway, is a complete talent, but he's obviously nowhere near in terms of completely dominant within a division as Oleksandr Usyk. That is completely impressive. We're going to take a minor break as my dogs are freaking out. I apologize about that, and I'll get right back to you. I do apologize about that. My dogs were going crazy. God, shots at my dogs. Bunch of assholes. But anyways, digressing back to what we're talking about. Usyk, in terms of dominance within the division, is just purely, amazing is too minimal of a word. Like, there's really nothing we can look at, I think, in boxing in this early of a career and this dominant within a division. It just hasn't happened, at least in the modern sense. I mean, maybe you can go back a ways, to maybe the 50s, 60s, 40s, and find someone. I know Santiago's on the line. Santiago is probably the closest thing we're going to have to a boxing historian that's on the show. Maybe he might have a parallel, an analog that we can look to within boxing, but within 16 fights, to destroy every relevant player in a division, I don't think it's been done before. So the only obvious step for a Usyk next is heavyweight. I mentioned this on Twitter. I think it's a brilliant idea, at least in terms of a promoting standpoint. You have Anthony Corolla, who won his fight against Jordan earlier, which is slightly controversial to put it lightly. Get his mandatory status against Lomachenko. Lomachenko, Usyk, good friends, train under sort of the same system and trainer. You put Usyk against the winner of Dylan White versus Azor, or the loser. Really, honestly, doesn't matter. One of those names as a main event. Co-main, Lomachenko versus Corolla. That does well in any stadium. I think it does well probably in any sort of pay-per-view box office system. That is just a card you have to put together. And also, just to put it, to add something to it, if Alexander Vajicic, another sort of teammate of theirs, goes out and beats Adonis Stevenson. How do you not put these three guys on cards together heading forward? How? If I was Igis Klimos, I would do everything in my power to get all these guys in the same promotional banner, the same network, and just get them all on the same card all the time. And just have it like the Ukrainian destroyers all within one card all the time. Like that would be like a bi-yearly thing where we just have the three best Ukrainians in the world fighting. Which reminds me, totally sort of tangent, rabbit hole of a discussion, but I just want to put that nugget out there in everyone's mind. It's really interesting to me, the difference in public perception, from the hardcore fans to the casual fans of guys like Vasily Lomachenko, Oleksandr Usyk, these two Ukrainian boxers who are completely talented fighters, and compare that to, let's say, the previous generation of Ukrainian greats, the Klitschko brothers. I'm not really much in depth there, but I was thinking about it during the fight, just how much really beloved these two guys are by the hardcores, and how that just did not happen the generation before, which was, literally only a few years ago. Just interesting to sort of put into context, the difference in only one generation, the difference in, a decade from the perception of fighters from one geographic area. But beside that, amazing performance from Oleksandr Usyk. I thought it was a, really, brilliant effort from Tony Bellew. I thought he did everything he could have done. I don't know, again, what sort of history we're going to look back on it for Tony Bellew, but that guy's always played spoiler in a way, and it just wasn't his night. Same with Adonis Stevenson, and that happens. And I will say this. That's just a bad haircut for Tony Bellew. He had that haircut for Adonis Stevenson. He got that haircut for this fight. I'm just saying, conspiracy theory, I don't know. We're going to head out to callers. Gary just dropped off. That is sad. Gary, I hope you can come back on, because I was literally about to go to you. But we are going to go to Santiago, or sometimes co-host from LA. Santiago, how are you doing?
Doing good, dude. Just here, finished watching the fights with you, and that was for me. That was a knockout out of right field. Definitely didn't see that one coming. I definitely thought that Usyk would box his way to decision, given Tony Bellew's recent run, and kudos to him defending all his world titles, and shout out to Bellew for doing what he's done, and I wish him a happy retirement if this is it for him. Personally, as your personal resident historian for boxing, I can't think of another instance where one fighter in just 16 fights had cleared out an entire division while becoming undisputed champion in any given weight class. Even the guy that Lomachenko is tied with for winning world title in the fewest amount of fights, he never really cleared out a division, and he spent most of his time fighting Muay Thai. So I think it's truly an impressive feat that he's accomplished. And when you say that he's pretty much got nothing left, I agree with you. I can't think of anybody at cruiserweight right now that could really give Usyk any kind of challenge. He already settled in. He figured out what he needed to do. Didn't worry about things that weren't much of a concern for him. And when he got the knockout, he got the knockout in emphatic fashion.
I agree, completely. And if you're a fan, you're a hardcore fan. You're a guy that watches the sport a lot. What do you sort of lean at next for Usyk? Is it obviously heavyweight? What's some names that really, in your mind, should be the first fight for him?
Well, that really depends on what exactly it is Usyk's looking for. I imagine that if he wants like an easy entry into the heavyweight division, maybe an Andy Ruiz who fought Joseph Parker for the world title. You also have Joseph Parker, Dylan White, Derek Chisora maybe. Because really against guys like Wilder or Joshua, they're too rangy for him. He's going to, not only would he have to be a lot more responsible, but they would pose a very unique challenge for him, particularly the size discrepancies. But those would be my initial picks of who I would be okay with seeing him as his debut at heavyweight.
How much stock do you put into those early rounds for Tony Bellew's success? Is that just we underrated Tony Bellew, we overrate Oleksandr Usyk? Where do you sort of fall on?
To be honest, I look at it more in the sense of this fight reminded me of when Mickey Ward knocked out Alfonso Sanchez with that come from behind knockout, and this also reminded me of when Jarrett Hurd knocked out Tony Harrison, also a come from behind knockout. You'll always have to look into like what exactly is going on, because a fighter may be winning, but that doesn't mean he's not being worn down, and that's why boxing is considered the theater of the unexpected. You don't know what's going to happen until it's over. And in this case, Tony Bellew looked good. I know there were a couple people that had him winning, and he got the knockout. It happens.
I agree. Anything else, Santiago?
No, that's pretty much all I got to do, unless you have any particular history questions regarding what Usyk or maybe even what Bellew's done in their careers. Otherwise, that's my call, and I will call in on the next show.
Thank you, Santiago. We'll be back tonight for a media reaction post-fight show for obviously the UFC Fight Night, Korean Zombie versus Yair Rodriguez, and obviously the Mike Perry Donald Cerrone fight as the co-main event. Definitely a fun little fight night right there. I'm going to watch and obviously talk about with you guys. Heading out to Gary in Dallas. Gary, how you doing?
What's going on, Matt?
Doing good, man. Did you enjoy the fight?
I did. I didn't know that if Bellew won the first 3 rounds. I thought he won the second. He did better than I thought, but he really wasn't throwing much. You could argue that he won those rounds, but I really only gave him the second, and I think it was maybe the fifth. It was 2 rounds that I gave to Bellew. I didn't really think he was landing the right hand at spots at times, but I mean,
I'll put it this way, Gary. I had it 4-3 for Tony Bellew heading into that 8th round.
You had it 4-3 for Bellew.
For Bellew.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had it 5-2 for Usyk.
Yeah, I don't see that.
You gave obviously you said you gave the first round, which I thought was a toss-up round. The second I thought Bellew won. The third, you're gonna say Bellew won the third?
Yes.
All right, I thought Usyk won the third and the fourth. And then there was one more round. Was it the fifth or the sixth?
I think it was the fifth. I think you're right. I think it was the fifth. No. I gave him the 6th. I gave him the 6th because I had it 3-2 heading into the 6th round. I gave him the 6th round. I think Usyk kind of took that round off a bit. And the 7th round, that was just such a bad round.
Okay.
That was the round that Bellew was in the corner, stuck, eating shots. And then the next round after that, he was knocked out.
The only 2 rounds that I scored for Bellew was the second and the 6th. Well, the first, I thought could have won either way. So I could have seen easily 4-3. Yeah, it was closer than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to look like the Garcia fight. I really did.
Mm-hmm. It was looking more like very quickly, it was looking more like the Michael Hunter fight for the first 3 rounds. Like Usyk just not active at all.
Yeah, Hunter did okay early in that fight, like in the first couple of rounds. The same way that Bellew did pretty good in the first couple of rounds. Before the fight, I would have picked Usyk to beat Wilder for sure. I guess I would still pick him, but he got hit with Bellew's right hand more times than you would like, right?
That is why I've been saying, Gary, that Wilder knocks out Usyk. It's not because he's more talented than Usyk. We all know Usyk is a far more talented boxer. But you can just get caught with the right hand, especially Usyk. The way he slips off the center line, it's a pattern. And you just have to read it. You have to feel that pattern. And if you can sort of time it, you can catch him. And Wilder does have one really good skill, and that is timing.
That's what I'm saying. He would have to be busy the way that he was busy in the second half of the Bradis fight and the Garcia fight.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems weird, right? Because it seems you want to be cautious fighting. Yeah, I don't know. Because Usyk does better when his punch output is really high.
Mm-hmm.
But if your punch output is really high, then you're susceptible to get hit by a right hand. I don't know. I mean, I always pick the boxer. I always lean towards the boxer. I don't know. I would still lean towards Usyk, but with Wilder, it really only does take one to change the fight.
Plus the height,
Like, if
the
you're
reach.
from my,
And let's not get twisted. Tony Bellew was probably the faster guy in the ring tonight. I think Wilder would be the faster guy in the ring.
Bellew's timing is really good. Bellew was able to hit him with that right hand. Yeah, you're right. I would still lean towards Usyk because Usyk is just so much better than Wilder. But
so is Luis Ortiz.
Yeah, Luis Ortiz doesn't have the hand speed. I mean, I like Ortiz, but Ortiz is 100 years old, and he doesn't have the same foot movement.
Luis Ortiz.
Footwork.
Luis Ortiz is a legitimate heavyweight with heavyweight power. Usyk doesn't really have that heavyweight pop. Like, he knocked out Tony Bellew, but let's not get twisted. It's Tony Bellew who's been dropped in almost all of his fights.
Okay, but who's knocked him? I mean, he knocked. Okay, let's start here. Who has a better resume at heavyweight, Tony Bellew or Deontay Wilder?
Deontay Wilder has the better body of work. Tony Bellew has the better name. And Luis Ortiz, let's not get twisted here. Let's not get twisted here. Luis Ortiz, all the time, is a better heavyweight than David Haye. He's just not a bigger name.
Ooh, so you would take Ortiz to beat David Haye?
Like, if put this, like, you put Luis Ortiz right after that Brian Jennings win and David Haye right on the come up from cruiserweight, right off the Enzo Maccarinelli win, right? Luis Ortiz smashes David Haye, smashes him. It's not close.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who I think. That'd be a good fight. I'm not saying that Ortiz wouldn't win. He could definitely win.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a good fight. I don't know that he smashes Haye out. Haye was really good at a point.
No, don't get me wrong. I just really rate Luis Ortiz. When we talk about like angles, boxing ability, the work off the jab, all that with a southpaw boxer, like we talk about Usyk. Luis Ortiz is the heavyweight version of that. He's the 250-pound plus version of that. He's the Cuban version of that. But there's a lot of similarities between Usyk and Luis Ortiz. So I think like you said, like Usyk's going to be winning rounds. But by the 7th, 8th, 9th round, I think Usyk's going to get caught with something, if not caught earlier.
With the Ortiz fight with Wilder, I said that Ortiz would be winning rounds until he slowed down, and then he would get knocked out. And that kind of happened. Like, if there was 10 seconds left in that 5th round, like, Wilder would have finished him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Ortiz got a second win and came back and almost stopped him in the 7th. But what I was saying was when Ortiz fatigues and his punch output drops, then he'll get knocked out by Wilder. I would say the same thing about Usyk, but Usyk's punch output doesn't drop. He doesn't fatigue, seemingly.
I don't think.
So I wouldn't take him to get. You know what I'm saying?
I definitely understand that logic. Like, don't get me wrong. I definitely understand that logic. I just don't agree that would be the prevalent factor as to why Alexander Usyk would be knocked out. It won't be the same reason as to why, even though, let's say, offensively, him and Luis Ortiz are very similar. Defensively, they're not. They're quite different, actually. And I think, obviously, cardio-wise, they're different. Output, they're different. However, that defensive difference, I think, is a flaw, actually, towards Usyk in the matchup with Wilder. The way he slips off the center line, I said it in the very beginning, I'll say it again, it is very predictive. It is based off of a pattern, and you can read it. And Wilder, even though he is not the most talented guy, he can time a guy with that right hand. And he will time Usyk as he sort of slips off the center line and slips back into the center line, and boom, he will catch him. Whether Usyk's coming in, coming out, when Usyk's throwing a combination. Usyk's best hope, actually, is to have almost this fight, this matchup, like this from tonight with Wilder. Slow output, work the body a little bit, make it go rounds, and hope you win a decision. Because I don't think you're really going to knock out Wilder. I don't think you're going to, pressure him. I don't think you're going to throw tons of volume at him. If you're Usyk, it just doesn't make sense. Usyk's too smart for that.
Well, I don't think his game plan would be to knock Wilder out. I think it would be just to put enough rounds in the bank, and then I don't want to say coast because that's stay away for the last couple rounds of the fight. You know, 9, 10, 11, just stay away. Put the first 8 rounds in the bank, outbox him, keep the punch output, and then just stay away. I don't think knocking Wilder out would even be a realistic thought for Usyk because it would be too dangerous, right? But that was like my other question. So if you were training Usyk, would you tell him to fight the way that he fought Gassiev with a high punch output, or would you tell him to be more cautious and lower his punch output? Because when he lowered his punch output against Bellew, that's when he was eating right hand.
Yes and no. I don't think it necessarily was the output that led to him eating right hands. I think it was his entries. I think he would slip off the center line, right, and then he would decide to jump in, right? Usyk would decide to jump in with a jab, a real jab, not a range finding, not a feint, actually jump in with a jab or 1-2 or whatever. And I think there's a tell there. I need to go back and watch this fight, but Bellew saw whatever tell it was and was able to time it. There is something with the way Usyk comes in that's the problem. Not really, I think, with the output. Usyk dropped the output as a defensive tactic to not open himself up to Tony Bellew. I think that the lowered output is actually what allowed him to deal with the right hand from Tony Bellew and get him into the later rounds. So if I'm in Usyk's corner for or his trainer, whatever, for the Wilder fight, I say this is the right game plan. There's zero reason to start going all out with a guy like Wilder and eat a right hand counter. I think it's in Usyk's best interest to figure out a better way to enter in on the inside, unload to the body, circle out, rinse and repeat. Find a way to rinse and repeat that. Because I think once you do that, and again that rhythm, I think Wilder will have a lot of trouble dealing with that. But getting to that is really difficult, let's be honest.
Yeah, he'd have to fight a masterful fight to avoid Wilder for 12 rounds. Mm-hmm. Right, that's what I'm saying. You kind of want to shorten the fight, right? Just make it an 8 or a 9 round fight, and then just simply stay away from him. But you have to win those rounds convincingly, because you're going to lose the last 3 possibly by not doing anything, right? So, I mean, in order to win enough rounds, you have to clearly win rounds, right? You'd have to have a higher punch output, right? You'd have to control him with his jab. You'd have to really, because you're going to have to try to sweep the first 8 rounds to take the last 4 rounds off to remove all doubt.
Mm-hmm.
The more I'm thinking, you know what I'm saying?
No, Gary, I am mopping what you're spilling, man.
I don't know. Before this fight, I was 100% confident Usyk would have beat Wilder. I guess I'd still pick him, but I don't know about that anymore. I don't know if he could stay away from Wilder's right hand for 12 rounds. I just, you know. I don't know.
And so, let's be honest, man. Like it's hard to transition to like a division like heavyweight from cruiserweight and be extremely successful. There's really only been one guy to really do it thus far, and it's been Evander Holyfield. Everyone else has had mild success. David Haye, mild success. Usyk hasn't even gone to heavyweight yet. Let's wait and see with Usyk when he goes to the heavyweight at the very top. I think with guys like Joseph Parker, guys of that nature, I think he's going to have his way with them. But those very top, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, maybe even like a Jared Miller, just due to the size, just due to the mass of Jared Miller, I think Usyk's going to have some significant issues with them. He is. And you know what? That's okay. I think, let's say Usyk has significant issues with them and wins. That makes his sort of triumph even more emphatic. It does.
And the one thing I would say about the Holyfield comparison is it's not a great comparison for 2 reasons. A, because Holyfield fought in the era of the 220-pound heavyweight. And when he stepped up against the 250-pound heavyweight, Bo and Lewis, he didn't really win. Right? He beat Bo once and lost to him twice and lost to Lewis twice. So it's like, because Holyfield was like a guy that was about 215 at his biggest. Mm-hmm. And we had to go fight the guys that were 240 and 250 in Bo and Lewis. He didn't really beat those guys. I mean, he got one decision against Bo, but he also got knocked out by Bo and almost knocked out by Bo in the first fight. And then he lost. Well, I guess he got a draw with Lewis in the first fight, but we all know he lost. So I'm saying, he's kind of like 1-4 against those big heavyweights. That's all that Usyk was would get is big heavyweights. Right? I mean, there's not really any more 220-pound heavyweight. That's kind of like a thing of the past.
Well, think about this.
The other reason why...
Sorry, very quickly. Think about this. Think about how much me and you have criticized the Mike Garcia-Earl Spence fight due to the weight discrepancy. The weight discrepancy between Mikey and Earl is far less than Usyk and AJ.
Okay, then you say... Okay, I mean, Wilder's probably giving up 25, 30 pounds to AJ, too.
Yes, but Wilder has the height and the reach. That's the makeup. That's the difference. That's how he sort of gets it back. Usyk is 6'2", 6'3".
He's 6'4". According to Boxer, I mean, maybe that's like, NBA draft height where everyone lies by 2 inches. But according to Boxer, he's 6'4".
Okay.
So, again, he looks the same height as Bellew, and Bellew's 6'2.5", so I don't know.
Exactly. He's 6'2", 6'3". Wilder, AJ, those are 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" guys.
6'6", 6'7".
Yeah, those are giant guys. And obviously, Wilder isn't as, mass. He's not 240, 250 pounds. But 220 pounds plus 6'7", plus his reach, plus his power, he's a giant heavyweight. He may not have the pounds behind it, but he's a giant heavyweight.
The other thing I wanted to say was, Holyfield, they just wanted to bulk him up and make him the size of a heavyweight. You don't really want to bulk up Usyk because then you're going to lose the flexibility, you're going to lose some of the mobility and movement, and that's what makes him special. So, the Usyk you see now is kind of the Usyk that's going to compete against AJ Wilder. You're not going to bulk him up anymore. Where the goal for Holyfield is just get another 10 or 15 pounds of muscle on him, and they'll be able to compete with the heavyweight. You don't want to really make Usyk any bigger.
Agreed. I definitely agree. Especially with basically his entire game is predicated off his footwork. Like you don't want to add any sort of slowed movement to that when his entire game is based off of that.
That's all I got today, Matt.
Thank you, Gary. Always a pleasure to have you call in. The 270 number, you have not pressed 1. You have to press 1 to get in the queue. And then I will go to you. We're going to go 610, 610. Who is this? Where are you calling from?
Hello.
Hello. Who is this? Where are you calling from? Thank you. 610. 270. Who is this? Where are you calling from?
This is Tavion from the 270 area, man.
What's up, Tavion? How you doing?
Good, man. I was watching the fight, man. I just don't think Usyk can handle Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. I just don't see it.
I don't either.
I don't either. I mean, he's all right. You know what I'm saying? He got a little foot moving, but, as far as the power, that's my thing. Or Gerald Miller, he's just so big, man. Where does he go at from here? Does he take the Joshua fight next?
I wouldn't if I was him. I would take either a Chisora, Dylan White, Joseph Parker, somebody of that top 10-ish range. Probably UK fight as well. Set up the AJ fight. Go get that UK money as well, that pay-per-view money. Bellew got paid $5.2 million in this fight before pay-per-view. I don't know what Usyk made yet. I'm assuming Usyk got paid millions for this fight as well. Go back and get that bag. And then set up the AJ fight. I think, like you, I think Usyk, even though his footwork is pretty great, he's a great boxer, I just don't think he really has the entire skill set to beat AJ and Wilder. I just don't see it. I think he probably loses by knockout to both guys.
He's a good fighter, I like him, but that's my first time actually seeing him fight. The U.S. fans, I probably don't know who he even is.
But yeah, if that's your first time watching him, then I can definitely see why you are much more of he's just a good fighter. Wilder and AJ beat him. Usyk is 100% a great fighter. However, he's only 6'2" and 190 pounds. Wilder's 220 and 6'7". AJ's 6'6" and 250. Jared Miller is 6'7" and 300 plus pounds. These guys have near 100 pounds on him. So it's just a difference of that magnitude. If you can, Tavion, go back and watch. You can probably find it on YouTube. Let's be honest. The Usyk Marius Briedis fight, that's a all action fight. Definitely recommend that one. And even like the Marco Huck fight, that's a fun fight. Good, he got a good knockout there. The Murat Gassia fight isn't as exciting, but it's dominant. So if you really want to see Usyk in its element, being dominant with that footwork, go back, watch a few rounds of that. Definitely recommend it.
All right, man. Appreciate it, man. Just one more question, man. So, like, do you actually think that Usyk's going to get the shot at Joshua before Miller will?
Ooh. No, I don't think so. I think they're going to be close to each other, though. But I think Miller gets the shot before Usyk. I think Usyk's going to be smart about coming up to heavyweight. I don't think Usyk's going to rush towards AJ. I think that's sort of like always there for him in a way, in my opinion.
All right, man. Appreciate it, man. Love the content, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, Tavion. Definitely appreciate the love and the support. Make sure you guys hit the like button, share the show. I mean, if you're calling in, I know you're like an actual super fan of the show. Like you listen to the show, you enjoy it a lot. You might listen to all of them. I doubt though with the amount of shows we put out. Even like my good friends Mitty and Rob and Fugatti, they don't listen to every show. Shame on them. Shots at them actually. Let's be honest. Come on. But yeah, share the show. It's the best way to spread awareness of the channel and the platform. Some things are in the work though, so stay tuned. As I hit this outro music, I don't want to sort of play my hand at all, but things are in the work. Some things are going to be changing relatively soon, perhaps. I don't know. Again, things in the works. I want to be very vague and mysterious with that as much as possible. Ohio runs boxing. What's up, man? I haven't seen you in a while. What was I saying? Oh, yes. Changes coming soon. I don't know what they are exactly, but some preliminary talks. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say. Mysterious. Keep it mysterious, Keep it mysterious. Anyways, I'm Matt the Hipster Hunter. Be back later today. UFC Fight Night 139. I think it's 139. Korean Zombie. Yair Rodriguez. Immediate reaction post-fight show for that one as well. Be on right after the main event is up. And I'll be back tomorrow for our Patreon-only show, patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. Go support the channel. Go support the show financially if you can. $1 a month. It's all you need. Get an extra show a week. 4 shows a month. All for that $1. That's 25 cents. 25 cents for a show. Think about that. Come on. Go help. All that money goes towards the show, goes towards supporting the platform, goes towards equipment, software, equipment for other hosts, anything like that. That's all what that stuff is. I hope everyone has a great day, and see y'all later. Peace.
I'm Phil. I'm